Is The Last of Us the best zombie show ever made? Created from the original video game, The Last of Us premiered on HBO January 15th, immediately impressing fans and critics. However, The Walking Dead at its peak was one of the most iconic TV shows of all time. So which one is the better zombie show? Let's take a look at The Last of Us and see just how it compares to The Walking Dead in 4 key areas. Make sure you stay till the end to see if you agree with our final thoughts on which show is the better zombie show. You might be surprised by our answer. Let's turn to our list of 4 questions to decide between The Walking Dead and The Last of Us. Starting with number 1. Which show has the better backstory? Both The Last of Us and The Walking Dead are driven by unique storylines from their different adaptations, as The Last of Us was originally a video game and The Walking Dead originally a comic book. The Last of Us has a great in-depth backstory, blurring the lines between imagination and reality, starting from the first scene. This backstory is handed to us in the first scene of the show, as doctors on a talk show discuss how a fungus could create a more dangerous pandemic than any bacteria or virus by controlling the minds of people infected. One doctor says that if the world warms up, it could create a threat where the human race loses to an infectious fungus. Not only does this scene set the stage for the rest of the show, but it also gives us chills thinking this could happen in our reality, since the idea is based largely in science. Later, we learn of the cordyceps fungus that can spread through a zombie bite and cause a person to go through 4 stages of infection. The Walking Dead features a similar backstory, as zombies are created by a type of disease that is mentioned briefly in the first season of the show. Still, the reasoning behind the zombie outbreak is not explained nearly as well as it is in The Last of Us. We are going to give a point to The Last of Us for this one because the premise is so unique and gives us a bit more clarity and detail. Now let's look at what brings the backstory to life, with question number 2. Which show gives us a better connection to the characters? Debating the strength of the character development in both The Last of Us and The Walking Dead is not easy. After all, both shows are driven largely by their lovable characters and do an excellent job connecting us with them. The characters in The Walking Dead were so well loved that the deaths of characters like Glenn, Carl, and Abraham in later seasons pushed a large number of fans away from watching the show at all. The Walking Dead will always be notorious for connecting us with the characters on their journeys. From the first episode, we meet Rick and are on his side immediately as we follow him through isolation and destruction. Throughout the series, we meet tons of other characters that grip our attention and admiration, including Daryl, Maggie, Carol, and so many more. In The Last of Us, we have a similar theme, as we are quickly connected to the characters while they experience loss and isolation, and we become immersed in their stories. We are heartbroken by Sarah's loss at the beginning of the show and compelled by the pain shared by both Joel and Ellie along their journey. Altogether, with the length of the show and the number of characters that we grew to love, we have to say that The Walking Dead has The Last of Us beat. At least so far. Let us know which show you feel has the most compelling characters in the comments. However, the characters aren't the only way we stay engaged in the 2 zombie shows. Both shows do an excellent job bringing their stories to life on the screen. Bringing us to number 3. Which show has better production? Both shows have excellent production that keeps us invested in the storylines, from the realistic zombies to the excellent camera shots, to the incredible set design. For example, both shows use real actors to play the zombies, which makes the experience feel realistic and believable when watching. The 2 shows also create the setting of a world in ruins pretty well, with rundown buildings, overgrown plants, and unkept cities. The Last of Us certainly stands out with the explosions and action sequences since it does have a higher budget through HBO. However, even with a lower budget and the fact that it came out 13 years ago, you would have a hard time finding fans who disliked the production value of The Walking Dead. So ultimately, we are going to have to call this one a tie. We might feel differently if The Last of Us blows us out of the water as the show continues, but you have to appreciate what The Walking Dead was able to do with a smaller budget. That said, let's turn to question 4. Which show has better storytelling? If there were any complaints about The Walking Dead, it was the fact that the show carried on a bit too long. For the first 8 seasons, The Walking Dead remained one of the best shows on TV, before it started to go off the rails a little and lose fans in the last 3 seasons. By the end, the storytelling was a large turnoff for fans, as the show seemed to rely on shock value and the introduction of Negan tore apart many of the character dynamics fans loved. Still, we can't overlook how captivating the first few seasons of the show were and how influential they were. Had the show not dragged on, we would be talking about it in an even higher regard for that reason. Either way, there were plenty of high moments during the saga. The Walking Dead created a unique world and made fans a part of it for 11 seasons, allowing us to feel the characters' pain and root for them to come out on top. Meanwhile, The Last of Us is focused heavily on using powerful storytelling to carry it forward, as the story quickly gives us strong context and a connection to the characters so that we root for their success in their journey and fight for survival. Creator of the show Craig Mazin also seems pretty intent on providing the perfect storyline length, telling The Hollywood Reporter in an interview that, quote, "I don't have any interest in a spinning plates go on forever show. When it becomes a perpetual motion machine, it just can't help but get kind of stupid. Endings mean everything to me. This gives us a good sign that the storytelling for The Last of Us will be airtight, covering the right details without going over the top. So far, it looks like The Last of Us has an advantage, being able to hit us hard in the emotions without overdoing it in the first episode. However, we have no idea if the show will be able to keep it up for multiple seasons in a row. Only time will tell. For now, though, The Walking Dead story captured fans from the start and carried it for years. So, which zombie show is better? Here is our final verdict. The Walking Dead might have dragged on a little toward the end, but there is no question that The Walking Dead was the show to watch and talk about for years. If you ask fans of The Walking Dead, there is no comparison between the two zombie shows. And we have to agree that it is far too early for The Walking Dead to give up its place as the best zombie show just yet. However, The Last of Us has a strong potential to be the better show, especially if it keeps up its momentum. Which show do you think is the better zombie show? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments. Like this video and share it with your friends so that they can be a part of the debate too. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any updates or analysis behind the hottest shows and movies right now. Thanks for watching.